Okay, so in your kit you should have a canvas with the cactus already traced on there, some paint, different colors of paint, a brush, a sponge, and then from home you're going to need a paper plate to mix the colors, maybe 2 paper plates, some newspaper to protect your table, water for rinsing your brush, and a paper towel for drying your brush. So the first thing I want to do is I want to paint this background, and I'm going to do it sort of a bluish green. So that means I have to mix some colors. I'm going to mix green and blue and white to get a sort of a, I don't know, a teal blue or sea blue. Okay, so remember when you're doing this, you're going to, since we're still early on, you're going to want to rinse your brush, at least wipe your brush off so you don't get all the green into the blue and all that. So let's do that. Make sure we blend the colors on the plate, but not in the cups. Now for white, I'm gonna have to, well, let's see what color I got here when I mix it. So you can see it's a little dark still. So I'm gonna rinse off the brush and I'm gonna add some white. Rinse it and then wipe it, just so I don't get blue into the white, because I'm gonna need it to be pretty bright white later for the needles on the cactus. Ooh, so it's hard to get open. I put a little white on the plate and mix that in with, all right, that looks pretty good. Let's see. Yeah, that's a nice color. That's lighter, almost like a sky blue. A little bit more white in there. And I'm going to trace around the cactus and then fill in the background. Okay, so you see I've traced the whole thing where I want it to do blue, this bluish greenish color in the background, and this part's going to be a different color. It's going to be the foreground, or the table that the pot is resting on. So now I can go and wet my sponge and get some of this paint on there and just fill in this background. Oops, I might need to mix a little bit more blue and green in there, maybe even a little bit more white. And just fill that in. You can also do this with the brush, really, it's up to you. This just makes it go a little bit faster. It's still a little bit darker than I'd like, so I'm going to rinse off my brush and add a little bit more white, just because I really want the green of the cactus to pop. So I'm going to go take a little more white out of there. Put it on here, get it on my sponge. There we go, a little bit later. Good, now we're just gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna come back and start painting the rest of the painting. Actually, we've gotta do this foreground first. So go ahead and clean off your brushes and let it dry, and then we'll come back. Okay, for this foreground or table part, we're going to use gray. So we're gonna get that by mixing a little bit of black and a little bit of white. I'm gonna go into the white first with my clean brush and take some of that out and put it on the plate. I'm gonna wipe off as much as possible and go in and get a little bit of black. Put that next to it, close those up so we don't spill those. And then we're gonna mix it over here, get the right color gray that we want. I want it to be quite light, so I'm gonna mostly use the white. because it has to stand out against this blue. So I'm gonna start painting in this direction. Oh yeah, that looks good. Tiny little bit more white. And there's not that much to it because I ran out of space, so I only gave you a small spot for the table. This cactus is a tall one, so it took up a lot of space. All right, so to make brown, we're going to need to use 3 of the primary colors: red, yellow, and blue. We don't need a lot, so I'm not going to use too much of any of these colors. I'm going to use a clean tip of my brush to just get in a little red and blue over here, which will make purple, of course. And then we're going to start adding some yellow in there until we get a nice brown color. Looks pretty good. All right, we're going to use that for the soil here that the cactus is growing in. Oh yeah, that looks brown. Very good. Very good. And if you're not happy with how the colors, you could add a teeny tiny bit of black to it too, and that'll darken it up. But I think this looks pretty good. I'm just going to fill in the top of that pot with this brown. Remember, I got that now? I mixed it. I mixed red and yellow and blue, just a little bit of each. And made this nice brown color for the soil. Another word for dirt. All right, I let all that dry, and then we're going to come back and do the cactus. Okay, so for the cactus, obviously we're going to use the green. But later on, we're probably going to add a little bit of black and yellow to it too, just to give it some different shading so it's not all one flat color. So let's get a whole bunch of green onto the plate. Oh, even more, we can use more. There we go. Let's just do that, and we're going to fill in the cactus now. All right, there we go. I'm gonna let that dry, and I'm gonna come back and add a little bit of different colors in there too. All right, so I let it mostly dry. I'm gonna come back in. I added a little black to my plate, and I'm gonna do a little bit of yellow, a little bit of green, and come in with a darker green. Kind of give me a nice, there we go. Sort of like a darkish green. Let's get a little more green in there. There we go. I'm just gonna use that to sort of add a little darkness to it. Maybe cover up some of those white spots. Give it some contrast so it's not all one color or just white and green. This kind of brings in darker tones that you might see. And also helps to cover up some of those white spots that are coming through from the canvas. Yes, I'm quite happy with that now. All right, so we're gonna let that dry, and we're gonna go in and finish the details. So clean up your brush and get ready. All right, when everything is dry, I'm gonna go back in and add some white details now. I'm gonna probably just dip right in here. You can put it back on your plate if you want to, but everything is pretty dry on here now. So I'm gonna add a little bit of just some like highlights and maybe brush it in a little bit to lighten the background a little bit more. A couple different things I wanna try. And then I'm gonna add the details to my cactus. And then I'm gonna be done. I'm gonna blend that in a little bit more, like having a little bit lighter background. All right, so now I'm gonna use a very clean brush or the tip of my brush, depending on how much control you feel like you need. And I'm going to paint some little pricklies all over my cactus. You can do it two ways. You can do a bunch of dots like this, or you can do some ones that look kind of like stars. Like that. Or you can do a combination. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a combination of stars and little dots to make my cactus look prickly in some spots. And maybe like the prickles are just starting to form in others. How about that? I think that sounds like fun. So I traced all the way around mine. I put my initials at the bottom, and that's it. You're all done. Have fun. See you soon.